Karting is about getting right those thousands and thousands of split-second decisions that go on through a race. You may have only in the first lap 100 different decisions that you have to take. For example, like let's say you are in a shifter kart, you may have to choose when you are gonna go first gear before the lights are out. You have to decide when you're gonna release the clutch. You may have to decide when to pull each gear, and that involves hundreds of thousands of instinctual decisions that you take. For example, like when you're changing gears, it's something that goes on like almost automatically, but there's also a bunch of other decisions, split-second decisions, that are more nuanced and that require a little bit of judgment, and of course they require a little bit of experience. That's when experience really comes in place, when it's about taking those right decisions, those split-second decisions, that decision making that is going to make or break your race. For example, as I said, after the start in the first lap, you have to go through the traffic. Let's say you start in the mid pack, you have to go through driver to the left, driver to the right, drive to the front, drive to the back. You have to kind of like, okay, braking point for the first corner. Am I gonna brake them like normal? Am I gonna brake a bit earlier? Am I gonna leave some gap to the driver in front? Am I gonna leave some gap to the drivers alongside me? What am I gonna do? Or when I'm gonna pick? There's so many split-second decisions going on, and again, there's a lot of instinct in that, and of course, you cannot consciously take all those decisions. I would say the most conscious decision that one takes in let's say in the opening lap, for example, is okay, how much do I want to risk in general? Do I want to risk a lot? Do I want to risk a little? Like, let's say you're going to turn one after the start. There's like a braking, there's a braking point. You have to basically, okay, am I gonna push it? Am I gonna be conservative? Am I gonna risk crashing, or am I gonna, try to survive the first lap? Normally, I prefer with the drivers that I coach at BabyRace to tell them like, okay, first lap, I'd rather have you come out in the same place as you are than try to gain 2 positions in the first corner and explode. So I'd prefer you to be, okay, a bit more conservative from that point of view. That's just my rule of thumb normally. But that's not really the part of the video. The video is about all those split-second decisions that are involved in karting. And that's why, again, when you are getting more and more experience, you start to take better and better decisions. And that's why it's not just about speed. It's not just about the lap time, right? It's about really taking all those micro decisions in the right way. And I feel that the decision-making process, it's something you cannot buy. You can get coached by the best drivers, and of course that's gonna help, but you can't cut the learning curve. You can sort of shortcut it a little bit, but you can't buy experience, really. So at the end of the day, you will still have to go and do those mistakes to actually realize then what you have to do yourself. For example, again, let's use the example. You're still in turn 1. You have to decide where to brake, how hard to brake, when to brake, and going back to it, where to brake. You have to decide, okay, am I going to stay full inside, or am I going to leave a little bit of space to the inside so that I can get a better exit, maybe get some undercuts on the exit. Maybe I can overtake somebody that was too tight. Maybe they get a better exit. But then if you do that, you need to judge the space from the driver behind, because if it's too close, it's gonna go down the inside of you, even though you covered only half. So, and this goes on for pretty much all the corners in the first lap. And after that, the group is a little bit more spread, and you have less decisions to take in terms of like racecraft, etc. But again, there are still gonna be tons of decisions that are going to be requiring your judgment. But again, that's the beauty of racing. That's why, again, the experienced drivers, like 25, 30 years old drivers, maybe they are like less sharp than, let's say, the 15, 18, 20 years old, but they have way more experience. And so from that point of view, they're always ending, like most of the times, ending up on top of them. Not on top of them, but like ahead of them. But the point being is that, all those micro split-second decisions are key. But it's not like I have a recipe for you. I'm not here to say, oh, I found this for you, do this and you're gonna win every race. No, I'm just acknowledging that. In this video, I'm just acknowledging that we have these micro split-second decisions. That's why if you see a driver that is like super fast all the time, but then you can't he can't finish a race. He is always maybe like being involved in incidents, or maybe he's just like being bullied around during the races. Then probably the reason is that he's not experienced enough to judge those split-second decisions to perfection. Whereas you can see drivers that, as I said, that are more experienced, maybe they have a little bit less space from their kart or for whatever, maybe from the driving, but they still have all those split-second decision right, and they end up again most of the times ahead. Which in the race, when you're, for example, in the opening laps of the race, the pace is irrelevant. You can drive with the puncture, no, not with a puncture, but like you can drive with with a chassis or a kart that is half a second slower. But in the first 2-3 laps, it's pretty much irrelevant, especially in the toughest races. I've noticed later on, like lately in WSK, Champions of the Future, FIA, that all these races are so fierce, so competitive, that the first few laps, it's really about muscling your way through, being elbows out and making sure you keep your spot or move up through the field, But again, if you drive a little bit too conservatively, if you try to be a bit too much of a gentleman, then you're gonna get overtaken. And again, that's nothing to do with pace. So the first few laps of the race, the pace is a bit irrelevant. It's not that relevant. But then later on, of course, the pace, when the group is spread, then the pace starts to play a big influence, of course. But again, later on in the race, you still have many split-second decisions you may have to take. For example, okay, the driver is defending in front of me. What am I gonna do? Do I try to overtake him almost onto the grass on the inside? Try to go for the switchback? Try to pass him around the outside on the brakes? You always have some choices to make. And I see the best drivers, again, they're gonna take the best decision on average. Okay, so everybody will take some wrong decisions, of course. Nobody is gonna take perfect decision every time, Even the best drivers in the world, like Verstappen or like Leclerc, Hamilton, they still make some mistakes every once in a while, But on average, they take the better decision, the best decision compared to other drivers. So yeah, that's something I wanted to point out in this video. Remember, the split-second decisions are key. I'm not sure what you could do, to be honest, to train those, but I think being aware of that can help you. So you know that, okay, in the race, I know I have to be a little bit better with my decision making. I think 2 things can help you. The first thing, rewatch a lot of race videos, because when you watch the race videos, you're basically starting to get it. It's like a movie, like watching a race, reading a race when you're driving. It's like reading a book, like watching a movie, and so you start to anticipate what's going to happen, because there are so many patterns that's gonna emerge, and after that, even though you will never have the same event happening to you, maybe you will never have the same driver defending or trying to overtake you, or it will always have slightly different. It's never going to be the same. You watch a race video from 2 years ago, and even though that may have some patterns from what you may experience in your next race or the race has just passed, but it's not going to be exactly the same. You will not have the same drivers starting in the same positions, with the same grip level, etc. You will always have something slightly different. But as I said, it's going to create some sort of racing intelligence in you, and it's going to make you smarter in the racecraft for sure. So it's like you're learning a language, like the racecraft language, and yeah, you're gonna start to understand patterns. Okay, when this driver tries to defend so much, and I have a bit of a gap behind, I can probably set up a nice switchback. But if I have someone okay, no, I saw that if the driver tried to switch back, but they had someone behind, okay, then he got overtaken by the guys behind. So better to keep the position rather than. So you start to understand, start to get it, and I think that is very, 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 very useful. And the second thing you could do, well, besides watching your onboard videos, I think is doing reaction times. Reaction times can help you because at the end of the day, split-second decisions also involve reaction times. If your average reaction time, let's say, is 0.15, so it's like 1.5 tenth, and somebody's reaction time is 0.12, 13, 14, I'm just saying random number, and if they have like a little edge compared to you, well, you know that they're going to take faster decision. Maybe they take the same decision, but they take faster decision compared to you. And so if somebody's spinning in front of you, you may not be avoiding the crash as quickly as they may have. So yeah, this is another thing. I think you should watch onboard videos. That could help quite a lot. Not well, but mostly race videos. So you can have both. If you have onboard videos that have race videos, like driver POVs like that, which unfortunately is not allowed in Europe, as far as I'm concerned. I think you can use them in the US. It's quite nice, but in Italy, yeah, there's no way you can use cameras, onboard cameras, even helmet cameras. You can't use them while driving for safety or insurance, etc. During the races, I mean. That's a bit of a pity. Otherwise, it would be so easy to learn from it. So yeah, you can watch some videos on YouTube of other drivers doing that, maybe in the US, or besides that, you can try to you just watch race videos. That's it, and it's not gonna be a POV video. You just watch race videos from outside, and you can still again learn a lot and find patterns, and again double down on reaction times. Also with playing with tennis balls, etc. Training your hand-eye coordination, that's going to help massively. And also the reaction lights, there's different brands. You can choose whatever one. I think whichever you find is fine, as long as you double down on your reaction times. And yeah, I think that's going to help you in the long run with your decision making.